Checking in. What's up? It's your girl, LaShonda Dunn, and we are here, both sides of the check, episode 18. Woo! And I am here with my girl, of course,
Miss Cat, your coach, accountability partner, and teacher.
And we are going to jump right in it. And today we have a very, very special guest today. And I'm big on letting people introduce themselves so that way they can tell the story the way that it needs to be told. So go ahead and let us know who you are.
Well, my name is Carl Neyland II. And I'd like to congratulate y'all on y'all show.
Okay.
Being in the 18th episode, because that screams consistency. But yeah, my name's Carl Neyland.
Okay. Well, welcome in, Carl. And for those that don't know, I've been knowing Carl for quite some time. We have a huge history. So I just want to say thank you so much for, getting on this show with us. So for those that don't know you, what exactly is it that you do?
In a nutshell, I'm a creator. On all aspects, I'm an entrepreneur that's a creator. So I say that because every way you create, I get paid that way. Behind the camera, in front of the camera, I own rental spaces. I'm CEO of Green Effect Studios. I pretty much tell everybody I do everything but sing and dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with what you just told us, just let us know a little bit about the one that you focus on the absolute most, so that way we get a chance to see what really drives Carl.
Well, Green Effect Studios pays the bills more.
Okay.
But being a creator that's more important to me than the Green Effect Studios. I'm just being honest with you. So, it's kind of like what you just asked me is a lesson I learned about prioritization. Sometimes you have to prioritize what's not as important to you to thrive. So I will say that. But I like to tell people I'm a creator over that because that's what I would rather thrive in that even more. Yeah.
Now, so let me ask you this, because we have the term check writer, and being a check writer means that you are a full-time entrepreneur, and I know that it hasn't always been that way. So what inspired you, or what gave you the freedom or liberty to be able to become a check writer?
Trials and tribulations, pretty much embracing them. I worked oilfield, and I made good money working oilfield. I think that's when you first met me.
For sure.
And I always wanted to quit and be an entrepreneur, but it was hard, to just walk away from the money. And just like the BP oil spill, I built the actual drilling production risers that was on the BP oil spill.
Wow.
So we didn't have the business that we had for 4 years straight. And an old man told me one day, Carl, what you gonna do? And I'm looking at him like, what you mean? The company's going down. What are you gonna do? And I'm like, and when I thought about it, I was like, if I'm gonna start over, I'm not starting over doing anything like this. I'm starting over doing me.
I love
so
it.
That gave me the inspiration because I was already intertwining with everything while I worked. Work was my safety net until it was no longer a safety net. That's really what pushed me out the nest.
So how long have you been a check writer?
Since 2018. But I will say I got a job for about a year in 2019.
Okay.
And I really think that to be successful, you have to have an open mind state to be both of them. I don't think you ever get away from having a mental space to accept both. The plan is to, success is always our plan. So whenever you think about the highest level of your plan, which would be most successful, you're going to be a boss and you're going to be a check writer. But to get there, I think you have to have an open mind to be both.
And I love what you're saying, because we battle with that on the show.
Yeah.
Can you use, the where you are right now to fund what you got going on? Or, having a safety net, is that okay? Some people I'm cool with my safety net. Some people no, I'm using this as a stepping stone. So I appreciate you sharing that. So Carl, I think the biggest question is what was that transition like from, check casher to check writer? What was that like, the journey?
In the beginning of it just felt good to have a new change in life.
Okay.
And it was also rough. And I learned a lot of lessons along the way. So it's probably, I want to say it's one of the most pivotal times in my life.
Okay. That's some good that's some good feedback.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like in your shoes where you were. Like a lot of people are there right now, which brings me to my next point, in our next segment. Like, what are some things that you jumped out here and you just regret doing, that you just regret doing it and you wish you can take it all back?
Well, actually having the mind state of being a check writer too fast. I would say I when I think back on my journey, I quit too early. Like when they tell you, like I've heard a person say, like if people win a lottery and all that, don't quit your job right away. And I don't want to say quit from the standpoint of quitting that job. It was to go into the mind state of not working for anybody too fast. So when I started working the oil field, I felt like, okay, I'm working for myself. But at the same time, if I could rewind time, I would have implemented my plan and got a job elsewhere. Meanwhile, and I would have focused a lot more because it taught me a lot,
And getting to that word, that phrase taught you a lot. What from being a check casher did you bring over to being a check writer that you think was like very important? It was something that has helped you along the way so that you won't make the same mistakes over and over again, or either, it's just something that you would say, you know what, I learned that from being a check casher, but now that I'm a check writer, I took that with me and build off of that.
I would say the biggest attribute I got from that was work ethic.
Okay.
Work ethic is something that you have to learn, and I'm one of those type of people. I feel like a lot of phrases we live off in life are halfway. So like when they say work hard. So being a check casher, it teaches you to work hard. I worked hard, work hard. And people will tell you, hey, if you work hard, you'll get there. Right? You've heard that before, right? You all you got to do is work hard. I'm sure you heard these before.
For sure.
And to me, that's just the start of it. Working smart is different than working hard, because the richest people in the world don't work that hard physically. But so I will say that work ethic is what I took from that the most, that I feel like helps me the most, because I know how to just work and be a worker.
I understood.
Which, that's deep. Being a check writer,
yeah.
When you were a check casher, you might have worked 40, maybe even 50, because you sound like you had multiple things going on possibly. But how many hours do you work as a check writer? Like, let's just how many hours do you work?
I've told many people, when you're a creator inside entertainment, to everybody else, everything looks fun. And I tell people I work way harder now than that was easy. The hardest thing now, if I had to do that again, the hardest thing would be getting up, because I'm older. But just working hard is easy if you got a hard work ethic. But figuring things out, evolving, working smart, that's a whole different world.
That's something different.
Yeah, and it takes all of that to be, to be entrepreneur, at least to consistently be that.
That's good.
Yeah. And one thing that we talk about is, what drives you, because it got to be something that if you was at a job and you could just clock in and be mediocre or whatever, like it have to be something that click inside of you to say, you know what, I'm gonna put this to the side and now I'm gonna work for myself, drive myself crazy, this, that, and the third. So it's like, what is the benefit? Let's say that. What would be the benefit of crossing over from being a check casher to a check writer?
Well, it depends on you. What drove me the most is my gifts. And the benefit of it is control. So I would say I've always had that, like not to toot my own horn, there's not too many things inside of creativity I can't do well. So I started off doing music. I could rap, I can write, I can be behind the camera. I retired. No, I ain't gonna say I retired, but yeah, being able to do so many things is what gave me the drive, because deep down inside, I always had that feeling like, I always want to work for myself. I always want to live through the gifts that God gave me, because God gave me those gifts. So that's my biggest drive, is purpose, and everything that I have in me. I'm uneasy not doing it. I'm uneasy being you know, as it sits in my own heart, like
Understood.
for me to just work for somebody, I feel like, you know, it becomes purposeless if it's not inside my path, because I still don't believe that, I'm still not a person that believes that you shouldn't work for people. I feel like you shouldn't work outside your path. That's the biggest thing.
Wow, that's big.
Yeah, that's big.
Yeah, if somebody came along, if Oprah came along, hey, I want to hire you to be my chief editor. Why would I not do that? Because that's inside of my
green who?
Yeah, you know, like, yeah. So, you know, I would be foolish to be like, no, I'm a check writer. I would never work for, you know.
I mean, at the same time too, like that's a part of your path. Like you said, it's almost something that's tailor-made for you, because that could be your goal, to have just one client. Because although you're working for her, it's like it would be your client as well. So I mean, like, that's big, because that's a part of your path that's tailor-made for you. And I think that's an encouraging word for somebody today, to make sure that you stay on your path and don't look to the left, don't look to the right. Just stay on your own path, because what's for you is gonna be for you.
That part.
You know, you working hard, and it's all for your gain. It's all for your benefit.
Yeah, I just want to plug in what you said. That's the real definition of motion. Everybody's used the word motion, but most people's definition of motion is success.
Oh yeah.
And motion is moving. That's why it's called motion. So, you know, like I always tell people to make your decisions off motion. It's just like art. I learned that with artistry. If you're a big time artist and you only collaborate with artists that are big, you'll miss the artists that are growing. And you can't see the growth because you're looking at the money, you're not looking at the motion. You know what I'm saying? You could waste your time collaborating with somebody who's big, but really don't have motion, low key. So I always feel like the biggest thing is motion, and motion is purpose. And that's how you function, you know? And
just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said when it comes to money, because we have a lot of people out here that want to do this for money. Yeah. But we can all look right in our camera and say that it ain't always going to be some money.
No.
It's not always going to be some money. So what would you say is that what keeps you going when there is no money, or it balances out? Because as a business owner, you're gonna have some overhead. So you might have made up 50,000, but if you got 49,000, you know what I'm saying, in overhead, then you really ain't made too much of nothing. So what would you say to that? What would you say to that?
When you have the simpler your mind is, the more you relate success to money. And the more you evolve, the more you realize money isn't real. It's a tool. So the older I got and the more I went through things in life, the more I separated myself from the money, knowing the money's not real. Not saying I'm not trying to get the money right, not saying that the money's not important, but the money is no definition to who you are. What you do is a definition of who you are.
Wow.
So that's something I had to consistently drill in my head. And that's what drives me. I don't care how down and out I am. I don't care what I look like to other people. I am what I am. And I'm going to always be that regardless, as long as I'm doing it. Not doing it makes you not that. But while you're doing it, regardless of how much money you're making, my uncle drunk beer and played basketball every weekend at the park. He is a basketball player, or was a basketball player. No different than the NBA players. The only thing that's different is the money and the success. That's it.
For sure.
So that's really what drives me, is the fact that the money's not real. That's it.
Wow, that's real, and that's deep right there. Yeah. And you know, so since we're in the vein of money, and this is both sides of the check, you know what I'm saying? As you know, a check writer, I think we've all been through that time where we done had an NSF, where we done had a non-sufficient funds, right? So let's talk about a time in your entrepreneurial journey where you might have took a loss or a setback that might have took you out, and how did you bounce back from that?
Well, honestly, I think it's bigger than just the business side of it. I always tell people, like, 2020 changed a lot of people's lives. 2018 for me was my life changing. Wow. So I started my business in 2018, and everything in my life changed in 2018. So that is you know, I don't want to say I'm getting off topic, because it's still, I started business and my journey inside of the most difficult time in my life. Yeah. When that time came, I was going through a divorce. I changing up the way I live from that divorce, going backwards into my old house with my old things to save money. My sister died that year. Jesus, my dad almost died that year, and my business declined for the first time. So I was in a mental war in 2018.
Sure.
By the time 2020 came, everybody was in an uproar, and I was like, this is cool. I'm good. So I really would just say is just the fact that when I started in the turning point of my life, and it was the hardest part of my life. And I think that's really what it was,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another thing about being an entrepreneur. Just because life is life, it does not mean that your business, you know what I'm saying, it stops. You still got clients, you still got bills, you still got to get out there and, promote yourself, network, market, and all those things. Like, you still have to do that right in the midst of, like you said, the worst time of your life.
And I don't mean to cut y'all off, but I want to know, because I'm sure they want. How did you get the strength through all of that? Like, how did you keep going?
I hate to just say be spiritual, but I say God, because I felt super weak at the time. People around me would tell me I was strong, and I'd be like, "Who are you talking about? Me? I don't feel like it." My cousin Joe, you remember? Joe told me, "Man, you're a strong person. All the stuff you've been through, people kill themselves behind that." And I'm like, I don't feel strong, but I'm just going. I just know how to keep going. So I thank God for that gift, because you'll have it and not know you have it.
Yeah, I mean, but as an entrepreneur, that's something that over time you just keep getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and you just keep going. We've had topics where we talked about mental health, where we talked about what keeps you going, you know what I mean? And like I just asked you about, when it's not any money, what just keeps you going, because a lot of these things weigh heavy on your mental. Like, entrepreneurship is about 90% mental.
It is.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So even during the roughest and toughest times of your life, like, you just kept going. Yeah. And we also I put out, we had a little clip in that shows us saying, it's just, you cannot stop.
Nah.
You just can't stop. You can't stop.
Yeah.
You can't stop. It's in you.
I would want to mention, because I didn't mention it, another thing that also kept me going was sports. Growing up, being an athlete, everything that you said about entrepreneurship starts with sports. So it's like anything you want to be good at, you have to dedicate time without any result. I was boxing when you met me.
I
planned on being a heavyweight champ while doing I'm a Gemini. I was like, yo, I'm gonna be boxing. I'm gonna be on movies. I'm gonna, so all of that. And I played basketball before that. And one thing about sports, you don't get better the next day. You don't get better next week. You don't get better next month. Everybody who you see, the people want to be LeBron James and Steph Curry, and you have to dedicate yourself to being that before the money comes. That's why I said what I said. Basketball players in the NBA were basketball players before they got in the NBA. That's how they got in the NBA. So I would want to just plug in sports, having a mind state from being an athlete, knowing I have to dedicate time without seeing results consistently. Also have to transfer that mind state into entrepreneurship. So sports does play a big side of that, being an athlete.
Which brings me to our next thing. But before I go on, I just want to say, not only do you have to change yourself, but you got to change your life.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's your whole life.
Yep.
You have to dedicate your life, like everything, not just your life, everything, your world has to be entrepreneurship.
But and let me, because I do have something before you get into that. How, so like you said, you got to change your life. What did that change look like? So once you got over, because you bounced back, obviously you still here, you didn't shut down, right? So how did that change? Like, how did that progression or that journey, you know what I'm saying? Like, how did we get here?
It pretty much like lifestyle changes. Habits change because socialization changes. Your circles will change like automatically. Like you either gonna allow your circles to change or you're gonna change them yourself, because if you go against that, you won't grow. So I want to say, from what you said, it's more like, once you get on your path, you can't go do the same things you were doing. I can't go hang out with everybody when they want to hang out. First thing I learned being an entrepreneur was the weekend was my work time. The weekdays are dead. So now when my circle is all working people, when Friday and Saturday and Sunday come, it's like, hey, Carl, we doing, hey, bro, I'm in MASH mode now. Understood. I was free Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And you know what I'm saying? But this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, oh no, you gotta work. Yeah, this is not overtime for me. you, this is what I need.
This
so
is life.
I started learning that. And then you can't just spend money like you spent money whenever you, like, it's different. That's one of the first lessons I learned. You get a lump sum of money when you're an entrepreneur, you gotta put it away. You could get a lump sum of money when you working, you could be more loose with it because a whole nother check coming. So, you know, I want to say just changing your lifestyle and accepting your lifestyle changing and letting that, actually having a mind state, knowing that, like I said, it means nothing. You know, this is a part of it. I say that's what that looked like.
Understood. I love it.
But the thing about that too, you have a sense of peace as an entrepreneur.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? That the working person, they don't always have. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that's our money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like peace is your money when you're an entrepreneur. Freedom is your money when you're an entrepreneur.
Well, you know, honestly, I think it's a little different. I actually think when you're not an entrepreneur, money's your peace. But control and everything is your peace as an entrepreneur, because the only time really money is your peace as an entrepreneur is once you have gotten to a safe level of finances. Because, you know, when you work for somebody, if you have a good job, you're getting paid.
Yeah.
You're getting paid. You know, and I always felt like one of my favorite books is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That was one of the first books I really received as an adult. And the biggest part in that book I love is when they worked for him in the store and the rich dad paid them a lot, and then he didn't pay them a lot, and then he didn't pay him anything. And when he didn't pay them anything, they figured out how to make money. So when you work for a person and it's not in your purpose, your brain turns off. You don't think anymore. I learned that even doing film. Like when you first met me, the reason why I was moving so fast inside of film is because I didn't need the money. You see what I'm saying? I already had the money when I got off. Everything I'm doing is intentional. And then once I became an entrepreneur, I honestly felt like my learning process slowed down because now the money was so important to live and make it. I can't learn as fast as I'm learning. Now I'm just applying what I know to get paid. So even inside of being an entrepreneur, if you don't have the right handle on everything, you'll be in a stuck hamster in the wheel spot as well. You know, and even as an entrepreneur, I stayed stuck in a wheel for a while because I was trying to figure it out and make money figuring it out.
And I think that, you know, to piggyback off LaShawn and just to clarify, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, what she was trying to say is when the money don't come. Oh, yeah. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Your money is now peace. Yeah. Your money is now, you know what I'm saying, freedom, because we know all too well that you could have 1 month you up, and then next month you down. Zero. So it have to be something that keeps us going. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you know, like you said, and we've said this many a time on the show, if it's the money that move you. You ain't wrong. Nope. Like,
it was an old man that told me one time, made me think different. I was talking to him. We were just talking about business, entrepreneurship, just life. And I remember telling him, you know, when I worked oilfield, I made the most money. I made more because I thought about the consistency. And he was like, "You did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then all of a sudden he said, "What paid you? What's the most you ever made in a day? How much did it pay you the most in one day?" And at first I said, "Yeah," because I thought about the holiday pay and all of that. And I thought about it. I stopped like, "Hold on, nah, I've gotten paid more in one day doing film." And I remember telling him that. I stopped and I told him, "No, I'm wrong." And he was like, "Well, that's your moneymaker." He said, "You just got to figure out how to make that more in one day." And it made me think about it differently.
Wow.
You know, I have on my website, I just recently got the biggest sale on my website this year that I've ever gotten, and had a year where nothing was happening. Now imagine if I didn't have it up. You know what I'm saying? So,
amazing.
You know, that's why I say you are what you are. Without the success, you just keep moving. You know?
I love that.
So,
I love that.
And I think that you giving us some really good points, and just take about 60 seconds for us and just go ahead and let the people know if you had to deposit something into people, what would that be? And when you wrap that up, make sure you let people know how they can find you and all that good stuff. But we definitely need to have you to deposit something back into our crowd.
It's gonna be a repetitive of what I kind of said, because I really think the biggest thing for people is knowing who you are and what you are, regardless of success, money, and status. And it's bigger than just money. It's also position, because you being a CEO, you being a boss, it can also give you a toxic mind state if you don't receive that right, because all the links in the chain, all the steps on the stairway are important. If you have stairs to the 5th floor, the steps at the top, If they're missing at top, it's useless. If they're missing at the bottom, it's useless. If they're missing in the middle, it's useless. So every position that you have underneath you are important. I don't care if it's the janitor. So the biggest thing is to know that the money and the status is not real. It's just infrastructure. That's it. And the importance of the positions are just for everything to happen. That's the only importance of the position. So if I'm the boss, I'm not a better person than you. I don't care if I'm smarter than you. I could learn something. You could learn something from a child.
Wow.
A lot of times people forget that, and the second they're the smartest person in the room, I always say you're the smartest person in the room, depending on the subject. That's it. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
Somebody bring up a whole nother subject, you might get quiet over here. You know what I'm saying? So I really I don't want to be long-winded, but I really just want to say having the most humblest mind state is what you need to have in being solid in who you are and your purpose. Detach yourself from the success, detach yourself from the status, and just live in that. Just live in that. Just live in that. Live in that. Be that. And I say, do that. That's what I would say. Do and take from.
Okay.
I love that.
How do the people find you?
Well, just me, King_Carl_GFC. My Green Effect Studios is greeneffectstudios.com. We're starting a new streaming channel, flume.tv.com. I'm with 360 Film Production, KBF 365 Films. Man, it's so many things, honestly. You know what I'm saying?
They'll find you.
This is a plug-in for the new suits, DFM suits.
Okay.
So yes, we pretty much.
You got it going on.
I mean, you learn. I'm a what you call a jack of all trades.
I know that's right.
So I have a lot of eggs in different baskets.
Now before we go, you did mention that website. So maybe plug the website if they want to go to the website. Do you have the website
Which
up?
one?
Well, I get that.
Green Effect Studios is greeneffectstudios.com.
Green Effect Studios.
And dfmsuits.com.
Okay. Yeah, because you're looking sharp, brother. Looking sharp.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. But first, I definitely like to thank everybody for tuning in today. Of course, it's your girl, LaShonda Dunn.
And it's Miss Cat, your coach, accountability partner, and teacher. And we're both sides of the check.